I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. I'm Fahad Khan. I'm a product manager at PayPal. Sorry, I should go to the intro slide. I'm joined by Nitin Sharma, principal AI engineer, and Lokit, who's also an AI engineer. And we're really here to talk to you about the future of agentic payments with the PayPal Smart Wallet. But before we get too far into the future, I'd just like to ground us in what the commerce journey looks like today. Normally, we all do this every day. We normally go look for an item. We start out on our favorite search engine. We do some research, narrow in on what item we want to buy, decide what merchant we want to purchase from, navigate the merchant's checkout processes, decide how we want to pay, and then place the order. It's a pretty good experience. I think it's been honed over 2 decades of e-commerce, and it converts pretty well. But we believe that in the future, in an agentic commerce world, this is what the experience will look like. And what we're showing here is a user who has an agent and who just specifies to the agent that, hey, provide some context. I'm going on a hike this weekend. I'm looking for a water bottle. I'd like it to be under $30. The agent is able to take away everything from the user, search the internet for the item, justify why they landed on the item that they landed on, and place the order and have it shipped and ensure that it gets to the user before their hike. So we'll go a little bit deeper into what is needed for an experience like this to be true in the future. And we really think that it all starts with trust and security. This world where agents are purchasing on your behalf and are potentially have full control of your personal information and your financial information, and agents are interacting with all these merchants on the web, it harkens back to the days of the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, where trust becomes a very important factor. You don't want your agent leaking your information to any untrustworthy merchants. Secondly, personalization and intelligent personalization is also very important. The agent needs to know all the information about you and all your preferences so that they can do that, complete the purchase task in a way that we showed, which is one shot, one prompt, and the purchase is done. And lastly, post-purchase support is very important. Things will inevitably go wrong, and the user needs to be able to have a surface where they can go if they need support with any of their orders. There's a lot there, but PayPal is the only player that can meet all of these expectations. If we start all the way on the left with trust and security, we already solved this problem in the early 2000s when the internet e-commerce was just starting out. The presence of our brand on a merchant website implies that you can feel free to transact with them because you are protected. We will be leveraging this brand in an agentic commerce world as well, so that agents will be able to identify trustworthy merchants based on the presence of a PayPal integration or not. Then when it comes to personalization, we already have the whole gamut covered. We have a lot of information on file for our users. Most of it that the users have provided to us, but also we know what the users actually do, what choices they actually pick. So this way, we can provide the agent the user shipping address, the shipping methods that the user prefers, and the funding instrument. But it's not just that. We actually have multiple funding instruments for most of our users. So we can actually intelligently predict which funding instrument they're going to use for which transaction. And then you layer that on top with our personalized offers and our loyalty integration, we can make sure that we are always the smartest way to pay for our users. And at the end, in terms of personalizations, we also know when the user wants to split their payment up into 4 equal payments. We know this because of previous behavior by the user or by similar users in their cohort. This will ensure that we're driving higher AOV. For post-purchase support, the PayPal app is already the one-stop shop, which you can use today to track your orders, start a dispute if your item did not arrive, or even get support from merchants directly through the app. And all of this is in service of conversion. If you remember back to the experience we saw where it was a one-shot prompt, all of this is actually needed to come together to enable that experience. Your agent needs to know everything about you and your preferences to be able to make that experience live. And so we're actually excited to show you a few preliminary demos that we've built internally based on all the data that we have. We'll show you how we will give users control. So we will be able to predict and recommend what the right funding instrument, the right choices for the user, but the user will have the ability to tweak those as well. We will show you what the first-time purchase could look like for this user on an agentic platform where the agentic platform has not completed a purchase for that user before. And lastly, we'll show you what a subsequent purchase could look like, which will be even more seamless because the agentic platform already has the context of this user's smart wallet. I'll quickly run through the screens here. So this is in the PayPal app. We already have all the information about the user, and we'll be able to recommend what choices the user should make. But if the user wants to tweak and tell us specifically what they're looking for, or if their intentions change, they can come to the app and actually specify a specific priority for their purchases. Do they want to maximize miles? Do they want to maximize cashback? We will be able to take this into account when we predict and recommend the funding instrument. On the other side, for pay later, we already know, based on the user's previous behavior, what the threshold is above which normally they use Pay in 4. But if they want to set up a strict threshold, they'll also be able to do that in the app, and they'll be able to modify it at any time in the PayPal app. I'll now turn it over to Nitin for you guys to see it in action for what happens when this user is actually present at an agentic platform. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Fahad. And again, welcome everyone to this conference, and excited to actually present for you a couple of demos. We've been talking a lot about the MCP toolkits, and we've seen some of you on the hackathon there as well. So what we'll outline for you are 2 different demos, and then we'll also outline for you a broad sequence diagram for you to actually see how it all packs together. So the first demo really is, so what the key takeaway here would be that this is a user that is, at the outset of the chat, is unverified with PayPal. So the user is on a merchant surface, and they are triggering off a purchase pattern. And the idea here is we want to conduct authentication and then a smart FI recommendation there. So the user is looking for an Igloo cooler. They're planning a camping trip next month. The merchant or the chat interface looks through a search and discovery process. So this is a typical large language model integration pattern where there is a search through a catalog that displays the items that the user might be eligible to purchase. You can see a prompt there where the user declares their intent to purchase the second item on the list. So from context, we're able to figure out what exact item that is in the order because of LLM syntaxing. And now the agent reverts back to the user asking if they want to buy it using their PayPal account. So how does the agent here know that they have to ask that question? So this actually goes back to our Commerce API. So the user is logged into the merchant real estate, but not PayPal's. And there is the email address of the user that can be now looked up into the PayPal's Commerce API interface and then checked back. So this is integrated as a part of our toolkit. So when we'll talk about our buyer toolkit in the next few sequence diagrams, you'll actually see that this is integrated within the Commerce API is actually integrated well within that. So it knows that the user is a PayPal user, and so it's just posing a question, do you want to buy this using your PayPal account? Great. So what just happened there? So the ecosystem recognizes that this is a PayPal user and then sends in a one-time password to their phone number, which is on file. Again, this is also because the user is verified, so now we have our KYC, we know the customer, and then we are able to link properties of the customer here. So what we just did was authenticated the user, and the PayPal account is now connected to the merchant's real estate. So now what happens, this is a very important step. So once we have linked users' details on the merchant app, now we are able to perform all kinds of actions in the background, like personalizing the recommendations of offers, or even connecting the user's loyalty program that they have with the merchant that they are logged in with, and then provide actually a lot of benefits to the user in that purchase. So the PayPal account is now linked. and there is a trigger on processing the purchase options. Okay, so what just happened when we were processing the purchase options? So there's basically 4 different checks. The very first one was performing security validation. So there is a funding instrument on file. There is also the user's account details. So this is where we run our flagship risk and fraud detection models. So this is a complex set of rules and machine learning models that power the experience. And we bring back a validation check for the user. And this also goes back to what Fahad had pointed out earlier around security. Right? This is a problem that PayPal has specialized in over several years now. There is also the analysis of various payment methods that happens here through, again, a suite of our recommender models, where we go back and we look at what is specifically the type of purchase that the user is intending to do, what merchant they are doing that purchase with, what is the user's spend history, and then based on that, it also sees what rewards the user could be eligible for. So that's the third step there. And then finally, we bring it all together. So all of these are specific tools that get triggered in our toolkit, which is the buyer agent toolkit, or PayPal agent toolkit, as we are also calling it. And then it aggregates all of these recommendations to provide a final output to the chat window. And so that's the final output. The PayPal account is linked. What did we come back with? The very first thing is we came back with, we actually looked through the user's wallet, and we came back with a recommendation on what funding instrument the user could use, because it has 3% cash back. So we're able to look at your purchase, the merchant that you're conducting the purchase with, and also able to come back saying, you get additional cash back if you want to use this card. Since we have a KYC, so the user is linked, we know about the user, we also know the address on file, and we also determine in the background that the address for that purchase is eligible for free shipping, an additional step there. And last but not the least, for that given merchant, which is in this case the outdoor mart, through the user's linkage of their loyalty program with the merchant, additionally, we are also able to discern that there is a further discount, or there can be a redemption of a certain amount of money for this purchase. And so providing all of this information there and aggregating this through our decisioning systems powered by our toolkits, we come back asking the user if they want to place the order. Great. So the order is confirmed. It's also completed. It will ship to the user at the address that was confirmed. Shipping is free, as we called out in the previous snapshot. And the loyalty discount also is applicable. And the last part to check is the delivery. It can be tracked now within the PayPal app. Right? So the purchase that happens here on the merchant real estate or the chat interface, actually now we have a seamless handoff of shipment information on the PayPal app. Again, there is a specific tool in the toolkit that allows us to do that with the tracking order, and then also with an estimated arrival time there. So as you can see, this is end-to-end, and it also offers seamless experience to the users there, and also personalizes the offers and provides the user the best bang for the buck. So a win-win for the user as well as for the merchant. The second demo that we're going to showcase here is a repeat purchase. So in this scenario, you could assume that the user is verified. So they are in the session and they are verified with PayPal. And so because they are verified with PayPal, we are able to show them personalized offers very early in the experience to have a seamless conversion downstream. And then we'll also show a BNPL facet, which is buy now, pay later, where the user can elect to defer payments or actually pay in installments, and then maybe make the first payment at the time of the transaction. So the user is planning a camping trip. They're looking for an igloo cooler. This time they're looking for it within a certain range. In the previous example, it was just looking for an igloo cooler. So now the discovery surface comes back with a set of recommendations, as you saw. The user picks a set of recommendations, picks a specific item that they want to purchase, and then we go back to the MCP toolkit again, where we are performing the same set of steps. So what additional check are we performing at this stage? So user is a PayPal user. They've made past purchases with various merchants, and so that way we know what their shopping behavior is in the past. And to incentivize that behavior further, we have recommender models that recommend series of offers that the user could have. Also, some of these could be temporally relevant as well, like what point in time, what specific offer has the best odds of conversion. So we do all of that math through our recommender systems there, and then bring back that to the interface. So again, security validation, which we talked about, analyzing the available payment methods, which again goes back to the smart wallet capabilities there. And then we go back to the rewards APIs there, which are, again, all of this is a part of our toolkit. And then we generate personalized recommendations. So coming back to this, the user's PayPal account was on file. The user is eligible for a BNPL purchase. So how does that happen, right? So one of the decisionings that we also make is, what is the user's threshold to trigger a BNPL purchase? So this is also customized within the app, right? So the PayPal user could set up a threshold saying, if a purchase is about $200 or a certain amount of money, I'd like for you to trigger a BNPL flow, right? And so that's what happens in this scenario. The user shipping address here, again, qualifies for free shipping. Again, this goes back to our knowledge about the customer since they are a PayPal customer. And then there is also an additional offer discount of $11 for this merchant. So this discovery we do based on personalized offers, right? So we have a recommender system that does that. And then eventually for this specific merchant, for this user, we have an offer discount that also comes back as a recommendation. Since the user is eligible for BNPL, we also flash the PayPal Pay Later terms and conditions. So the user can view these terms and conditions, see if those terms and conditions are acceptable to them, and then elect or opt to choose BNPL. So if the user accepts the terms and conditions, then we check if they want to place the order. This completes the order there. As you can see, the details of the orders are evident. The shipping is free. We also applied the PayPal offer savings of $11 through the offers program that you just saw earlier. There is a pay later 4 payments scheduled there as well. And we can track shipment through the PayPal app along with the delivery schedule. So this again completes the second flow where the user is verified. We are showing them personalized offers and also determining their eligibility for buy now, pay later. With that, I'll hand it off to my colleague here, Lokit, who will walk us through the sequence diagram to abstract both the flows and then provide you with some function calls.
Awesome. Thanks, Nitin, for those wonderful demos. So let's pull back the curtain and see what's happening behind the scene, especially in terms of the function calls. So what we have here in the diagram is the user, then there's the merchant's, the agent interface on the merchant website, and that talks to our PayPal agent toolkit and the background services running on the backend. So once the user has shown us the intent that they want to buy with PayPal, the agent interface will look up that user using our agent toolkit. And in this case, we are doing the lookup using an email. So that triggers the authentication flow. What we already saw in the demo, we'll get an OTP. The user completes that authentication step. Great. So now at this point, the user has already authenticated. We know enough about this user. Now, the agent interface triggers get offers call, which will bring forward any merchant-specific offers based on the item that the user is trying to purchase. It shows those offers on the chat interface, and then the user gets to select if they want to make any adjustments to the item that they're buying based on the offers. Once the selection is done, we make another call to get the loyalty and the payment options. So this is where the smart recommendation of the FI and any offers, loyalty offers that are available, we figure those out. We also figure out the perfect address, the recommended address for this item, if there's free shipping, as we saw in one of the demos. And that is shown again to the user on the agent interface. At this point, the user just has to confirm that everything looks great. Whatever selections or recommendation we have made to them, they make sense to them. And if they confirm that at that point, the toolkit will just execute the payment. And once the payment goes through, we just show that the payment is successful back to the user. So that's the overall flow that we also saw in the demo, different call patterns that are happening behind the scene. With that, I'll give it back to Nitin for wrapping this up.
Thanks a lot, Lokit. So how do we put this all together, right? So there are different entities that we want to talk about. We want to talk about the customers or the consumers, the merchants, and then the agentic platform, right? And the way we see this at PayPal, it's a win-win for the consumers and the merchants in this scenario. So for consumers, they get to pick the best way to pay, right? So we have a combination of personalized offers. We also determine BNPL eligibility. That helps us optimize for AOV. So it gives the user the option of paying flexibly there. And they also get more for their money there. So if you're making a purchase there, you have a bundle of services that you could apply through our toolkit discovery process and through our agentic systems. And we can personalize these offers and then provide user with the flexibility to elect. On the merchant side, it's a seamless experience that goes end to end, so higher conversion because of that, because because you're going through an agentic flow, not necessarily the friction that you might see in traditional checkout systems where you're going from screen to screen and option to option. Now this is a one-stop flow, which actually goes from the agent, and the agent is able to seamlessly interact using natural language, and that consolidates significantly on the conversion and the AOV, which also boosts the retention and engagement. And then last but not the least, agentic platform. So this is coming on board on the agentic platform. Because you have the flexibility of tools that actually are abstracted right ahead of the APIs, there is also faster user onboarding. So a lot of the flows that we have could be now seamless. Also wallet for autonomous purchases. So this actually goes back to a lot of the smart wallet ranking that we were talking about earlier, and also autonomous purchases if you want to have autonomous purchases going forward. And last but not the least, concise conversations for the transactions. So you're actually in a large language model interface, and you're interacting seamlessly with the agent there. And so it reduces the number of steps that you have to take. And it also provides you with the flexibility for things that you might not have thought of as you're actually checking out. So there's always this notion of reminding you that you have a funding instrument that could be better for this purchase, or you could be eligible for BNPL because you have a threshold or a trigger there, or you're actually eligible for these personalized offers. So it also is discovery of all of these facets that happens on the agentic platform. And we've been also talking about the MCP toolkits. So if there is more interest in it, we are also happy to talk you through specifically what tools are used in the development of the capabilities here. And we can also provide you with some information on what's out there, what we're planning next in this journey that we have coming aboard. So again, thanks a lot for taking the time to attend this talk. And with that, we'll field any questions that you might have.
As I understand, this happens in the merchant app. So they also need to have an agent that takes like broad answers, give product recommendations. Only then once they say, do you want to pay with PayPal, is that when the merchant agent sends that information?
Yeah, that's a great question. So merchants, agents, the assumption here is they are integrated with the PayPal's MCP toolkit, right? And then the toolkit, the language architecture that you have on the merchant side has a discovery mechanism. So because you're running, the queries that are being prompted actually then go back to the inference on what tools could potentially be called for addressing that specific query. Some of these queries could be very straightforward, where you're just saying, I just want to finish checkout. And some of those could actually trigger a series of flows. So for example, you might say, it's not just one tool in the toolkit, but it might be a series of toolkits. So in this scenario, the notion here is, as the merchant's app or the chat interface is interacting with the user, it's also interacting essentially with the toolkit setup, right, which is integrated on the PayPal end. Yeah. And another important thing to mention here is a lot of this goes back to how you design your toolkits and then the verbiage you use around your toolkits, right? So if the verbiage is easily discoverable, then in that case, the language models are able to easily discern that, okay, for this specific query, these are the 2 or 3 tools in the toolkits that could be executed. And so once you're on the server side, then we have enough information there to trigger the flow or to come back to you with a prompt. For example, in some of the scenarios, you might have a path where the user might prefer another funding instrument and things like that. So we have that back and forth mechanism that is also optimized seamlessly because of the way we structure the toolkits.
Yeah. I will just add on though to what Nitin said, that you're right. Like there is a world where the merchant has their own LLM agent that is facilitating this transaction flow, but we also envision a world where it's an agentic platform as well. Yeah. That has a host of merchants that they have integrated with, or they have the ability to do search and discovery, and that they are actually owning it, and they're not affiliated directly with any one merchant. So both of those models will exist in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea there is once you have a toolkit, right, now it depends on how you want to integrate that toolkit because you abstracted that notion of integrations at a higher level. So now, so long as you're integrated at whatever the upcoming upstream platform is, you have just as much flexibility.
Yeah. So one more question is, when you showed the demo, once you said that you want to pay with PayPal, after that all the interactions were with PayPal MCP. So is it like every interaction it goes to first the merchant agent and then that directs to PayPal for every integration? After once you say pay with PayPal, everything goes direct.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there were two parts to it. The very first one was, do you want to pay with PayPal, right? So the first notion there is that in that scenario, the user was not verified yet. But then as that question was posed at a point where the user's email address was looked up in the PayPal system, and then we found the user, and then we felt that there could be options for this user to pay using the wallet that they have at the PayPal side. So what happens there is that one tool call that happens for verification, which also Lokit showed in the sequence diagram, where there is a check on email address that comes back. So there's that one callback, and we want to offer that so that we provide user with the flexibility. As this is actually a chat interface, we want to provide them with the flexibility of, hey, you have a PayPal account, and there could be a possibility of you earning rewards or being able to apply personalized offers to it to get more discounts. So there's that one call. And then the second one, once you confirm your intent, then we actually have a series of tools that actually get called because the KYC is complete. We know about you because we've been able to authenticate you after the OTP or the MFA flow. So just to quickly add to that, the OTP flow is what we showed here in the demo, and then we also have a ready-to-go MFA flow, which also allows you with more seamless and more modernized integration there. Yeah. So the first one is a call to check for the KYC, and then the second one is seamless. It's basically a full function call pattern that gets stacked.
So when you say S, then it direct.
Correct. Yeah. Because at that point we want to provide you with the flexibility once you declare your intent. Now we know what series of ecosystems to check and which AI models to actually confer with in order to bring you a holistic experience about your loyalty points and your rewards and eligible offers and such.
You mentioned recommendations from MCP server that flow into the agent. Does it mean that what kind of recommendation data we transfer and how does combined?
Yeah, that's a great question. So two parts to it, right? So yes, so from a privacy point of view, so there are best practices around the MCP protocol, right? So model context protocols, you could think of them as, in some notion, fat APIs, right? Where you're doing context exchange that happens from the client and the server side. And so there are a significant number of considerations there on how much of the envelope you want to expose between client and server interaction. And if you're exposing an envelope, is the envelope in some sense, let's say HMAC or JWT compliant, right? So for example, I might have to identify information that is PII, or I might have to identify information that I don't want to send as is, I want to encrypt it, and there has to be a significant client-server handshake that has to happen prior to that through auth mechanisms. And once the auth is established, then from that point forward, you could elect to encrypt and then make your envelope as secure as possible. So that's a great question, and I think as this area evolves, we are also staying very close in touch with industry best practices in adhering to the guidelines of how to secure the envelope and how to have a context transfer that is contextual in nature. And also to have scenarios such as not any agent would be able to leverage the context protocol. Can we whitelist some agents and then establish some trust factor across the agents? In this concept, we are also actively exploring other protocols. MCP is one, and I think that ends up being a lot of the theme of this conference. But again, we are also looking at A2A, for instance, which is another protocol which operates at a higher level as compared to the MCP. And the A2A protocol really is, that is more auth aware and less context sharing. So in the sense, the idea there is to discover agents through agent cards. And then once the agent is discovered, then from that point forward, you could trigger internally, maybe a context-rich protocol like MCP, where you are now nuanced in your function calls and tool calls. So this is also an area that we have been exploring there. Sure.
So yesterday, in the hackathon, we made this with priority toolkit to replace the RWS splitting into requiring like the state like the written extension in Amazon where you can split payments across main and free users. So there was one issue we faced where let's say there are like voice related APIs that are available on the toolkits like sending reminder or let's say paying order creative order. So how I'm thinking an issue where I want to pay for I want to make occasion a bit later rather than send instant payment. So yesterday we were facing that issue where let's say I want to pay 2 days later or 3 days later. And you get sending an email of the payment link or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it like in works or how I tackle like a lot later payments compared to
Yeah. Thanks first of all for coming aboard with our toolkit and leveraging it in the hackathon. Really appreciate a lot of the effort from the developer community in coming aboard and providing feedback. This is the kind of feedback we are also looking forward to. To your specific question, I think I would suggest let's connect offline, and we want to see exactly how the toolkit is being leveraged. And toolkits actually have a lot of tools in the background, and some of the tools are triggering specific APIs. So then let's actually maybe sync up where we could go deeper into how the toolkit is being leveraged. And then certainly, right, if there is feedback or if there is something that we need to actually extend as a capability, then we are also happy to hear from you and see if there's something we can plan in the roadmap. Yeah. Thank you.
So the chat is a great way of doing it, but as a normal user right now, about in the CEO session, they're talking about websites versus this. I think it's coming. This feature is coming very soon. But now, as of now, I can say if I am on the Amazon website, I have my card filled up for it, right? I have multiple choices actually. In one of them, I could select PayPal also. Yeah. So now we know how, and you guys told me how you think you're saving with the PayPal wallet. If I always take once just the regular, yeah. But the regular credit card, I have to remember it was the highest pay for my online purchases I've never actually, right? So PayPal is solving that problem for me because, for example, if I have 4 credit cards in my PayPal wallet, now PayPal is smartly understanding for this purchase, which one is the best one to choose time of the fee, right? Are you guys going to something or is it available or it's in the tool?
Yeah. So I'll address the toolkit question, but before that, I know that there is a pretty good product question here. So love to have either Fahad or Manish's point of view here as well.
I'll take an attempt at it, and Manish, please jump in. So yeah, so there it is actually in the works for us to surface that insight way ahead of time to influence your behavior to let you know, right? Because it's too late after clicking the PayPal button, you get to the pay sheet. That's too late to tell you that, hey, like this funding instrument that you have could have saved you a lot more money. You may have already made another choice. So yeah, it is in the works, and we'll be working with a bunch of partners. I don't know, Amazon doesn't accept PayPal today, so Amazon may not be the best example, but we are working with a bunch of partners to surface upstream messaging, targeted and personalized for your wallet. And our button already does some messaging today. I'm not sure if you've noticed it on a lot of our merchant websites. We plan on extending that functionality to exactly this use case to be able to tell you and, save you money, essentially. Funding instrument recommendation is one part of it. Personalized offers is another, that if you have an offer where we could offer you something on top of your credit card because you have a PayPal account, because the merchant has made that available through us, we'll be surfacing that as well before you come into the PayPal ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Great. And to the toolkit point, as these capabilities, so because I think the idea here with toolkits is we want to make them as provide a higher level of abstraction and make them as flexible as possible, right, for all the scenarios there. So I think so there is definitely the integration question, and then there is also the question of how do we seamlessly onboard like notifications, messages, and things like that. We do have some pretty good templates that are in the works right now, but they are mostly for our internal notifications, and then there should be a way for us to extend those And so yeah, so some more work to be done there on that front.
Yeah. But I think Japan has a very good, power in the market. Because, what happens is, when the card has been filled up, we know what's the actual amount of a card this period. Yeah. And if merchant anniversary, and this is like for toolkit, I think, whatever is the deterministic workflows are the best one to approach. And, when they're like a non-deterministic or in like, user-driven thing or in the choices-driven thing, it might be best, but this one is a very good way to go forward kind of thing. Merchants also a box because they can convert the purchase into the 500 now.
Yeah. More click-through rate for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm happy to add one more comment. So really great question. Thank you for that. I think the key message we want to share on sort of where we move with an agentic interface is it's not just about like, hey, let's optimize rewards. Of course, that's great. But fundamentally, the interaction that the user is going through is minimized. It has so many fewer steps. So think about the case where your first card gets declined. How do you make sure the second one automatically gets picked and gets applied into the process? Think about what the item purchase when like first one happens today, the second one happens a week later. How do you take care of that autonomous case where the wallet can sort of make that transaction for you a week later? Think about sort of the refund scenarios. How does it know what to apply to? So if you think about the interface, which is now becoming audio with more likely the chat interface explains it, but even before so less and less information is something people are going to go at client machines and so on. How do you take all of the knowledge about what the users try to accomplish, their shipping speeds, their preferences, and bring it to these agentic interfaces is how we try to reimagine the world. And we demoed just a subset of those things today, but that is what this MCP toolkit will kind of deliver to us.
All right. Going once, going twice. If there's no more questions. Cool. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.